What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that team in 2023, 2022, and 2021. Reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. I also am a content contributor to the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube channel, which has over, I think now 560,000 subscribers. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, if you're up to it, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And also, too, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I host, please feel free to reach out to me at dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. And also encouraging you to join the Morning Vibe Discord group, where we continue the conversation between shows and people share a lot of valuable, important, and useful information. I've been doing some stuff for Black History Month. As I said, this past Monday, right after the show, I went down to Brock University and sat on a Black entrepreneurship panel, and with a lot of interesting conversation, a number of students there, a number of professors there, and a number of professors who want to continue the conversation with myself and Ryan post the event, which is very cool. So looking forward to see if we can provide knowledge and empowerment and education in regards to the world of Black entrepreneurship. And now, Ryan and I aren't the be-all end-all, but it can just start with us, and hopefully we can get other people involved in the conversation, Beast.
Where's the Gala King? It is Gala month.
well, I was, as I said, I was with Gala King on Monday down at Brock University. And then I spoke with Gala King yesterday. He was coming back from Ottawa. He was actually speaking with ministers, encouraging them to continue this Black entrepreneur programming past the end of this year, because the funding officially ends at the end of this year.
Okay.
So we'll see where that leads. So that's a whole other conversation in itself about that. But he's championing as much as possible. Plus, he has his organization, ACBN, has their annual symposium on March 2nd, and the keynote speaker will be in person, Dr. Joyce Fraser.
Okay. Big things.
Yes. So I'm going to be part of it, talking about sponsorships. Okay. And but I definitely, Dr. George, I definitely would like to meet him in person again. The last time I met him, I'd say at least 7, 8, 9 years ago, Warren Salmon brought him to town in North York.
Yeah, I met him over 25 years ago.
Yeah, same here, right? So it'd be nice to get that wisdom, and I know he's going to bring the fire.
He is unapologetically pro community.
Yep,
and he articulates it in a way that seems so simple, but here we are 25 years later. You know, I'm not going to say there isn't any progress. I'm going to say that the progress has been more linear than exponential.
Yeah, well, many people would say that we're not better off as a collective than we were 25, 30. Some people would say 100 and 200 years ago.
Well, that's a little bit different, because I can't say there's no progress, because here you are leading a world leading podcast. Here I am, free to roam about the Peel region without being accosted or being stopped and frisked and so on. So there is progress. I'm not going to say there isn't any. And I'm also saying that based on my career, I had access to places and spaces that my father and grandfather couldn't dream of.
True.
So we're moving the chains. I think the key is the electoral writings are based on proximity. You have to live in the same area in order to have a voice. So other communities will lock themselves down in Markham, lock themselves down in Richmond Hill, Brampton. They will have critical mass, so they control the policy at the municipal level, which means they can control it at the provincial level, which means they have a very strong voice and advocacy at the federal level. Because we are dispersed across the GTA, we do not have any critical mass. We have a lot of us, but there's not a lot of us concentrated in an area. And when we are concentrated, we're at a socioeconomic level where we're not politically active. So it kind of curtails our ability to have a voice. So is it society against us, or is the fact that we haven't got our act together and decided that everybody who is doing well, pick an area, I don't care where it is. And back in the day when it was affordable to do so, we all go there. If you look at how Durham region has evolved from Scarborough East.
Right.
So Scarborough East, the Midland to Port Union had
corridor.
Yeah, had a lot of people from the West Indies who came up in the 60s and 70s and bought their first houses and moved out there. Then those people, their kids wanted to live in what they thought was a better neighborhood. So they went to Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, now some as far as Bowmanville. So we see the eastern trend and the shift to move out to places 45 minutes to an hour away from Toronto in order to give yourselves an opportunity at home ownership. So economics drives the migration. Scarborough was less expensive than Bathurst and Bloor, and you got more house. You had a backyard, not an alleyway. You had parking as opposed to street parking. You had less crime at the time than you would have downtown, and less of a chance of vagrancy. So that's why people moved to the suburbs. But if you think back to 50, 60 years ago, had they bought what they were renting in Bathurst and Bloor, where they would be today.
Yeah. Look, you know, and I know people may say are not from the Toronto area, but Bathurst and Bloor, there was a number of Black, African establishments
100%.
that, and if they would have bought, my gosh, could you imagine how much those would be worth today?
Right. Well, we had this conversation on many Financial First Fridays before, and the reason many people did not buy was because they were supporting two households. One household in Canada and one household from whichever country they came from. And you had brothers and sisters and parents and first cousins that you grew up with as brothers and sisters that were back home and didn't get the opportunity to migrate and immigrate to Canada. So there was an allegiance, an obligation to help those people. So money was being sent back home and barrels were being sent back home. And the dream of, you know, my father included was one day I would return home. He never said Barbados. He said, I'm going home. He lived in Canada twice as long as he lived in Barbados. But Barbados was home to him.
Good morning, Ted. Good morning, gentlemen. Also, Ray has a question. Says, the question is, though, quote, with Caribbean being home, how many have created wealth there?
Oh, no. Why bring the violence so early? Why bring the violence so early?
Bring it. Go for it, man. Go for it.
Okay, so I can tell you this, that many people, when I went to Jamaica twice last year. And as I'm driving from the Sangster Airport to my resort, I see a bunch of half-finished homes, quarter-finished homes. I see foundations laid, nothing else. I see foundations and maybe the walls done and the roof done, no windows. I see a bunch of rebar popping out, and these work sites look abandoned. And it's because there doesn't seem to be a mechanism for foreign buyers to get mortgages in Jamaica. They have to bring their money from where they are to Jamaica and build it as they have money. So if you're building as you have money, because you can't use the local financial institutions to get your property built, and you're doing it piecemeal, if you get sick, or if you die, or if you don't have a will, no one can even touch that property. There's no paperwork in place for a son or a daughter or a sister or a brother to take over because you haven't done the estate planning that's required, but you're buying, you know, thousands of miles away. There are a lot of people coming in from England, a lot of people coming in from the United States, a lot of people coming in from Canada, building in the Caribbean. But the facilities to do so and the paperwork and the estate planning to guarantee continuity and completion, I don't think those mechanisms are in place, because I saw conservatively 50 on both sides of the highway, water side and on the mountain side, and all 1/4 done, half done, 3/4 done, or done and empty. And I have a feeling that they either ran out of cash, or the person whose dream was to go to England, go to Canada, go to the USA, work until I'm 65, come home with that big US dollar pension, Canadian dollar pension, British pound pension, bring that back to the Caribbean, and then they get sick or infirmed and they can't move, and the dream is done, but they haven't done what they need to do from an estate planning perspective, and their kids can't even help them if they want to, because now they're incompetent, and now we have to go get a lawyer to take over the paperwork. Most people don't have the money because of socioeconomics, and you can see how other people will walk in at some point and take over those properties for pennies on the dollar. Ray, let me know if that is accurate.
Well, okay,
because that's what I see.
Like I said, he says yes. The half-finished phenomenon is across the entire Caribbean, and he says the need for interjurisdictional estate planning. I have a legal associate who is well versed in that area.
Well, fantastic. You know what? They say when you're on an airplane and the plane cabin loses pressure, the mask will drop from the ceiling. The first thing you need to do is put your mask on first, then help the person beside you. The lack of estate planning in the Black community in Canada is very, very bad. 56% of people in general don't have a will, but in my estimation, with whom I'm working with, 80% of the people that look like us do not have a will, living will, and power of attorney. So if they don't have it in Canada in their backyard where they're working, the chance that they're going to have it in another jurisdiction is almost laughable.
Worse.
So what I'm seeing is the greatest transfer of wealth in modern history is happening between 1946. And what happened in 1946? There were a bunch of people born. What are those people called, Ed? You're one of them.
Baby boomers.
Fantastic. 1946 baby boomers. If you fast forward 65 years from 1946, quick maths, 2011, they're 65. When 2011, they start retiring and start using their money for their retirement. 10 years past, 2021, 75. Many of those people get sick. Many of those people have to go into long-term care. They start burning through their cash. Some of those people die. When they die, that money transfers, unfortunately, to the government because they do not have the estate plan in place. And then the kids and the family go and do that battle with the lawyers to get access to the assets. When they get access to the assets, they think they're end of job. No, that's end of job in country number one. Now they have to go do the exact same thing in Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and all those places. And what I'm seeing is, oh, my grandmother has land. I've been there my entire life. Myself and my cousins, first cousins, are all looking to get this property because remember, grandmother has 8 kids, and those 8 kids have 3 kids each. So we got 8 people plus 24 people, 32 people looking to get this property and get their end. And Granny has $0. And Granny has 0 paperwork. She doesn't even know how she owns a property. People just assumed that when her mother died, she would get it, and people just left it alone. But we don't even know where the titles are, bro. And then dealing with West Indian lawyers and West Indian legal systems can be daunting, to say the least.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, you know, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the, you know, just people that, you know, don't always represent the best of us, you know, the diversity, you know, like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr.
Really
Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Bob is a real smart brother and a good human being. And I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. You know, a lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. You know, helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Bob is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Bob show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway,
let's talk about Black History Month. So we got 29 days this year. We get an extra day, you know, so it's February 28th plus tax. We get 20 February 29th, and it's fantastic. Once every 4 years, we get a leap year. So how do you leap forward in 2024 with your finances? Well, first and foremost, we talked about this before. We have the birthday cake, and at the bottom of the birthday cake, there's 4 layers to the cake. The bottom of the birthday cake is protection. And protection means that you have something in place. If something happens to you physically, but you're alive, money can still come in. And if something happens to you where you ascend to the ancestors, there's enough to take care of everything you have here for the people you leave behind. So your spouse and your children will not inherit your debt. Your debt is taken care of. All taxes are paid, wrapped in a bow, and there's extra money for them to continue living their lives as if you were here. Okay? What we're looking for in February is for Black households to do that math. The math is pretty simple. It's called DIME. It's an acronym, DIME. All your debt, add it all up. Credit card debt, not your mortgage, just your credit card debt, your lines of credit, your payday loans, all your debt. Add that up. Once you have that number, look at your income. If you have a 2-year-old baby, you want to have enough income to get that child to 15 years old or to 18 years old or to 21 years old, as if you were still here making your money. So your spouse is not left with double the bills and half the income. You will have enough to replace your income till the child is 15. They can go work at a part-time job, 18 till they finish high school, or 21 till they finish university or college or get their apprenticeship in skilled trade. You pick how long you want to have your spouse to have your income coming in, even if you're not here. That's I, D-I. M, add your mortgages. All of them. Some people have multiple mortgages. Understand that when you have enough money to pay off the mortgages, there still can be transfers in tax. Because in this country, we have something called fair market value, and Ray can speak to this. If you want to sell a house to your child for $1, they'll say, you're still going to pay taxes, as if you sold it at fair market value. So if you buy the house for $100,000 and you sell it for $1.1 million fair market value, that's $1 million capital gain. Half of that money is yours. The other half is taxed in the marginal tax bracket of those getting the house. Do they have enough money in protection to help them pay those taxes? Because if you don't, they're going to have to sell the house. And why do all of that work for your entire life, buying all these properties, only to have to liquidate them because you don't have enough money to pay the taxes because there's not enough protection to do so? And the last piece is E, or education. Excuse me. So a lot of people can save money and not go to college or university if they're not doing what I consider to be core skills. So STEM is core skills. Scientists, technology, you want to be an engineer, or you want to be in medicine. Those things you have to go to school for. You want a liberal arts degree, you might just want to go to Indigo and YouTube and save yourself. Listen, I'm not joking.
No, I know you're not joking, and I 100% agree with you.
I see people going to tier 1 universities. Again, if you're going to use the undergrad that's in liberal arts because you want to go become a lawyer, okay, I get it, right? But if you're going to go get a degree in geology from one of the most expensive universities in Canada, U of T, what are you going to parlay that? Are you going to become a cartologist? You're going to go out there and map in northern Canada? What are you going to do with that degree? I think people are going into school because they just want to go into school.
I want to enter, and I got a number of conversations pieces from what you've dropped here. I'm
Mm.
going to reverse engineer. You're talking about education first.
Mm.
You and I grew up in a generation that our parents said, you are going to university.
100%.
And I'll give a great personal story here. I remember when I graduated from junior high, I received the Proficiency Award, which meant excellence in education and sports,
Mhm.
was given to me by the Minister of Education in Ontario, was at the event.
Okay.
Come off the stage, and I go to my dad. I'm expecting my dad to shake and hug me. He says, "You're going to university." And I said, "I haven't even started high school yet."
Yes.
And
Yes.
now today, what, especially for our Black, I would say African families, because after speaking with Professor Jane Small, he told me, say African first. You're an African Canadian. You're an African American. To
Right.
African families,
Mhm.
from your lens as a father, your
Mhm.
lens as I consider you a leader and a thought leader. What is the value to African families these days when it comes to education for their young people?
Woo. That's a big question, because you're going to have to ask me at what point in time and what point in history.
Right.
Okay. My father came to Canada with a grade 7 education. So did my mother. Why? Because in Barbados at the time that they were coming through, high school was an exam, and even if you passed the exam, you had to have the money to go to school. This is how you separated the rich from the poor and kept them that way. And then I believe it was 1959, Barrow, our prime minister, changed the rules, and if you could pass the exam, you could go, and everybody had access. And Barbados democratized education, because the rich and the poor never went to the same schools, guaranteeing they would have different outcomes. You kind of have that here in Toronto as well. We have some schools, Upper Canada College, Brébeuf, and Havergal for the girls, and St. Mike's.
St. Mike's, right.
And Crescent School. These are private schools that are $25,000 to $40,000 a year, and those kids go there and get a different experience than those who go to Gen Pop schools that we went to. I think that when our parents, because they came through that, they understood that there were advantages to having formal education. My father would say, "Listen, you're already Black. Don't handicap yourself by being Black and ignorant." So, right?
Same
so
thing
here
with
we
my
are.
dad.
Right. So here we are in Quebec. We're Black and we're English in a French province. So we're getting double doses of discrimination, because they're discriminating on us because we don't have the paper, and they're discriminating on us because many of us didn't have the language. I solved that problem very easily by just moving 500 kilometers west. All of a sudden, French didn't matter, and I got down here, and there was critical mass of Black folks, and I just blended in Toronto like I'd been here my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
But if you drive 500 kilometers east of where I live in Mississauga, you're going to meet Black kids who have the lowest cost of education in the country, if not in the Western world. Unless they're giving away university free in Mexico, in North America, Quebec has the lowest cost of education. You can go to McGill all the way to PhD for less than 20 grand. And we don't go. We don't go.
Mm.
You can become a doctor at McGill from high school for less than $20,000, and Black kids do not go. So what is it about higher education? I think it has to do with identity.
Okay.
Right? It has to do with the environment. You had parents at home that said, this is the standard.
Yep.
Therefore, you had a choice. You want to live in my house, as my father would say. My rules, my bat, my ball, my rules. So he said, if you want to live in my house, you have to go to university. So said, so done.
Got
The
it.
reason they go and take these courses is because they have no idea
What they want to do.
who they are, what they want, what they're good at, what they like, and what the market demands. Japanese call that ikigai, and there's a little diagram.
Yes.
Right.
Ikigai chart. Yep.
Right. So this is what the Japanese have. Well, we as a community don't have that. We just said you have to go to university. Why? Because there's a status with university. So when your parents are working, in my case, blue collar job. My mother was a nursing assistant, and she aspired to be a nurse, and she died before she could complete her nursing program. My father was an orderly. He would move patients all around, and he would see what people would drive up to the hospital in. He was working at a Jewish hospital in Montreal, and he saw money Because in order to be in that long-term care, you had to have money. He saw what money looked like. But he would drive past Concordia and McGill on the subway, on the metro, and never take a course. If he had taken one course a year, he would have had a degree. But he never did, because you have to have the self-image for higher education. And those who do go need to have a plan, and they don't have a plan. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Ray says, spot on. The decision for undergrad studies has to be assessed.
Right.
Let me do the economic part of it too. With the way that governments operate these days, and on average, African North Americans are paid less than non-African.
Not true.
Oh, okay. I stop right there.
Not
okay.
true.
Okay. Talk to me.
My career moved at the speed of white. Right?
Okay, but Roy, okay. Now, is that the norm though? Come on.
The norm is dependent on where you are going. If you are a carpenter, you're in skilled trades. Apprentice rate is apprentice rate.
Yep.
Master rate is master rate.
Right.
There is no discrimination. You have to be a part of the union. Once you're in, the rates are predetermined, and that's why a lot of our parents ended up in government jobs, because it was protection. My father worked for the healthcare system. My mother worked for the healthcare system. Why? Unions and no discrimination on salary. That's why they went there. There was safety there. It wasn't arbitrary. When I came out and I moved to Toronto, and I'm working for banks and I'm working for different tech companies, there is no union. It's what you negotiate. What people don't understand is that every job at every level has something called a pay band. And a pay band is a range of the low, midpoint, and high point for that level of experience for that role. Usually when HR sees you and you come in and you finally get through all your interviews and you get there, they're going to give you an offer in the lower quadrant of the pay band, knowing that they have the ability to negotiate all the way up to the top of that pay band. But if you don't know that, you will get your offer and you will see it and you'll say, thank you very much, because you come from a culture that says, thank you, I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity. And you get paid less. Then you meet me. And I have mentors, some of them Jewish, some of them Irish, some of them British, some of them Jamaican, some of them Bajan. And they say, when they give you the offer, there's only one question you need to ask. What do you think that question is, Dr. Vibe?
I'm not even going to try.
Here's the question. Thank you very much for the offer. Is it negotiable?
I was going to say, is this your best offer?
I don't say best offer. Is it negotiable?
Is it negotiable? Okay, there's a tip right there, family.
Okay. And then they're going to say, yes, it is, Wayne. What would you like if this number is not to your satisfaction? I say, thank you for allowing me to have this discussion with you. This role at my level of experience, and this is where you have to know who you are.
And your value.
And your value. So I know what the street is saying. I am a 10-year veteran of cybersecurity sales at tier 1 manufacturers of software and hardware. Based on my research, this position pays between X and Y, but you're offering me X, but you're offering me X minus 10. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I'm going to ask you for the midpoint of the pay range for this role at your company. Is this number at the midpoint? And they'll say 9 out of 10 times, they'll say no. I say, I'll take the midpoint. I say, I will earn my way to the top of the pay band, or I'll get promoted. Mm-hmm. But I want to start at the midpoint. That's how I went from IBM, these guys, jokers, came to me with 95K. 95K. This is 2004, 95K. And to most people, they would say, unbelievable. 95K to get out of bed in 2004? And I dropped the phone. I said, what was the number? 95. I dropped the phone. I said, I haven't made less than $100,000 base salary since the 90s.
Facts. I know
that's why I said. That's why I said to the.
That's a
That's why I
fact.
said to the guy. I said, so to be honest, I'm not insulted. I know how IBM rolls. I know you pay less and and it's IBM and blah 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 blah. I said, but I haven't made less than 100 grand since 1990s, and I do not plan on making less than 100 grand at IBM. When you're asking me to leave Mississauga and drive to Markham to your facility, therefore, I'm going to need you to consider another number. And they said, what's that number? I said, I as much as I know I can add value to your team, as much as I know I can get you where you want to go, as much as I know my contacts in my phone can put you in places and spaces that you're not getting now, I cannot consider anything below 115. That's a $20,000 conversation. And you know what he said?
Yes.
Yes. What if I didn't ask? When I go to interview and I get to Microsoft and Microsoft says, hey, welcome. I go, hey, great. They say, here's the offer. And the offer is low, just like IBM. Why? Because they feel their brand is going to get you into doors more than my brand. And I say, listen, I'm Wayne Harris. You don't seem to understand. They go, what accounts are you looking at giving me? They go, we're looking to give you Canadian Tire. I go to my phone, I go to LinkedIn, I go, that guy? I show them first connection for the guy they're talking about. I go, what other account you looking to give me? They go, Loblaw. That guy? So I know who you want to know already before I get there. Therefore, I'm elevating my personal brand and elevating my income.
Yeah.
So when they said to me, hey, we're going to give you a lower number. I said, no problem. What are you compensating with? You can give me a lower number. They gave me the number IBM, so Microsoft gave me 2008. 107. I go, 107. I call my girl, who was already working there in the same role. I go, 107. She goes, yep, that's how they bring you in. But don't worry about that. She goes, within 2 years of this conversation, you will be at where you need to be, and you will have a bunch of Microsoft stock. I said, I accept the offer because I've got inside information that this offer is standard.
This is a masterclass on a lot of things that I verify. Have someone on the inside of where you're going. And again, we're talking about a subject today about, you know, what you need to make for that. You need to have it's strategic.
Yes.
Right. Economics is strategy.
Right.
Am I wrong?
I can't agree with you more.
You know, it's strategy. It's just really real strategy and knowing your value. And what Wayne said there when he was talking to Microsoft, he was a solution to their problem. His value goes up. When there's, and we talk about financially, there's one thing pricing yourself based on need, and there's another thing pricing yourself on value. Two totally different things.
Here's the hard truth, Dr. Vibe. You don't get paid what you're worth. Yeah. You get paid what the role is worth. So I got a lot of people coming in with big heads. Well, I was doing so-and-so in Kuwait. I was doing so-and-so in Bahrain. I was doing so-and-so in Mumbai. And now I come to Canada and I'm doing a job 3 levels below where I was over there. I said, yes, you are. Because there's 2 words that they're going to use against you that you have no response to. And those 2 words are Canadian experience. And it's over for you. Check and checkmate. So now you have a choice. You came here, right? You were one of the 500,000 people Trudeau brought in here. And now you got here. You paid for your house cash because you came in as an economic immigrant. So you have no mortgage. You have everybody living with you because that's your cultural community vibe on how you want to live. Grandparents, kids, sisters and brothers all in one big house. And it makes sense economically. We should do more of it within our community. But now you're working for $65K. And you were director, big boy at whatever oil company in Dubai. You have to pay the immigrant tax. And that's what our parents paid. But here's the problem. I'm Canadian born, bro. I'm not an immigrant. So why am I paying an immigrant tax? Why am I getting less? Because I feel I'm less than. Because I was taught everything I know about my identity from my parents, who were less than in the eyes of the French and the white society in Quebec in the 60s when they came, based on what was going on in the United States with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and Stokely Carmichael and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they saw themselves. So when they got less, they said, I expect less. So if you have low expectations for yourself, you can't expect the outside third party to have higher expectations for you than you have for yourself.
Excellent. All right. Wanted to share here. Good morning to Dr. Tachi, host and producer of Mediascope, the livest online show about media, tech, and pop culture. Hopefully, I should be back on soon, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram, and then 6 p.m. on Wednesdays Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and other platforms. Good morning, Serena Wills from the DMV. How important is it for North Americans around the world to know what the policies the federal government are doing when it comes to finances?
Policies for finances. So here's the good news. Great question. As I'll say T4 is an employee, and 95% of the people in Canada are T4 employees.
I'd say it's a high proportion to in the United States too.
Yeah, T4 in the United States, W2. Okay?
Right.
Going to be an employee. Remember, Rockefeller designed the school board to not make free thinkers. He designed the school board to make workers.
Employees.
So
yep.
The fact that you come out of school looking for a job has everything to do with Rockefeller's making sure you're mentally conditioned to not want to compete on the entrepreneurial scale. That's why we're so impressed with Bill Gates and Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and all these people who are doing the entrepreneurial thing, because it's almost like a muscle we never built. Here's what Canada, and I'll speak for Canada, and maybe for the United States as well. The people in the US, Colorado and DMV area can answer this question as well. How many courses on financial literacy did you take between kindergarten and grade 12? I'll sip my tea, literally.
Okay, while you're putting that question down, Ray is saying, Wayne, you are educating young employees coming from, quote, basic, unquote, homes. Most young folks don't know how to negotiate income and what consists of a, quote, good, unquote, good compensation package. Another question. Here's something from Fitness IQ. An ongoing cycle of low expectations of self. How do we overcome it? How overcome that when it has been ingrained for so long?
Listen, I'm gonna ask you to draw a small circle, a bigger circle around that, and a bigger circle around that. The biggest circle on the outside is outcomes or goals. This is what people aspire to. I want to get a university degree. I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to drive a nice car. I want to go on vacation. I want to lose 10 pounds. All the goals that you have, right? This is what people ask you to focus on. SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic with a time frame and all that good stuff. What they don't tell you is how to achieve those goals. So write down your goals. Get a dream board. There's a guy by the name of John Crow, not Jim Crow, John Crow. I met him about 25 years ago. And John Crow said this: exhortation without explanation leads to frustration. I'll say it again. Exhortation without explanation leads to frustration. So what we see is a bunch of people like us running around frustrated, not knowing how to achieve their goal and not having mentors who have achieved those goals before them showing them the way. The process or the system to achieve the goal has to be known. If you do not know the process, how can you achieve the goal? And that's why people give up. When I went to university the first time, I didn't understand the process. I just heard you had to study. What does that mean? Read. What does that mean? Highlight. What does that mean? Memorize. What does that mean? Regurgitate. Yeah. Didn't work for me. Got kicked out of Concordia University. Shout out to Concordia for kicking me out because you made me the man I am today. Right? So I got a BSc, Dr. Vibe, beer, sandwiches, and chips because I partied my butt off in the 80s. Dr. Vibe, I was partying. It was
I
Dr.
need
Vibe,
to stop the show right after that. Jeez.
listen, do you remember the late 80s, Dr. Vibe? It was
Yeah.
the birth of hip hop.
Yeah,
It was the birth of house music.
yeah,
Deep house, Chicago house.
yeah.
Buddy, I was in every club working it to the bone. I had no time for books, bro. I had my people pouring talcum powder on the floor so we could slide to the music, coming down to Toronto for Caravana, to Twilight Zone. Listen, I had no time for studies, and studies had no time for me. And Concordia said, "You're not serious. Please leave." And I left. Both of my kids went through university because they wanted to go through university, because the expectation was to go to university, because the identity level was set in them that they could compete with anybody at their level. So belief systems is where it starts. So how do you raise your identity? You don't changing your actions is fine, but that's just surface. You have to work backwards. First thing you need to do is understand what it is you believe. Some people believe they're big boned. That's why they should get diabetes and die like their grandmother and their great grandmother and their mother before them. I'm big boned. So I'm going to eat the pork and the starch and the sugar and everything else and then say I'm big boned. That's just the way we are. No, that's decisions you're making on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Some people say, you know what, my grandfather was broke, my father's broke, I'm broke. If you do the exact same thing, you're going to get the exact same
results. Yeah.
Last I checked, anybody who got a personal trainer and changed their diet loses weight and builds muscle.
Yeah.
The system is very, very simple, but most people are overweight. Why? Because they don't want to go to the gym and they don't want to get a personal trainer and they don't want to follow the system.
Yeah.
The system for poverty is very straightforward, and many of us are gold medalists at the system for poverty, but the system for wealth and wealth creation is unknown and esoteric to us. And there's no one coming like Mel Robbins says, no one's coming to save you, eh?
No.
Last I checked, Chapters is gone, Indigo is here, and you can walk into any one of those stores and read for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you do not have the $32 to buy the book, you can go to any Indigo, find a chair, and read a chapter a day and take notes. Just don't highlight the book. Don't highlight the book. Read the book, take notes, and in 15 days or 15 weeks, whenever you do, that book is read with all the notes. Plus, there's Audible. Plus, there's YouTube. Plus, so
here's another gem that people don't realize: your local library.
1,000%. Library card is $5.
And the amount of information that you can get for with a library card,
brother,
like the stuff they're offering now is just way surpassed. Like, I like one of the most powerful things you can get if you want to learn, other than a computer, is a library card.
1,000. Listen, Dr. Vibe, I've got on this computer a little program from a company called Alphabet called YouTube.
Don't go any further.
And if I do 500 hours in one area of subject matter, I can go and hold my own with pretty much anybody. 500 hours. Yep. That's like 10 weeks, bro.
Yeah.
In 10 weeks, you can go and hold your own. If you narrow your focus and you focus on that expertise in 10. Listen, I have a guy, he came in from France, right? So he comes in from France. Canada says, "What's your skill?" He goes, "Cabinet maker." They go, "Okay, show me." And this guy went in and hung the cabinets and showed them what he could do on the construction site. And they hired him. You know where he learned how to hang cabinets? YouTube. 0 hours hanging cabinets. But because of what he saw on YouTube, he went into a construction site, said, "I'm a cabinet maker. Can I work for you?" And they said, "Show me." And he went in there and put in the plugs and hung this thing out and leveled it out.
Bang.
Done. So getting back to the story of why do we need education today as we did in the past, education is a game changer if it's directed and focused on what it is you want to do.
Alignment.
Alignment. There's a lot of things I don't know. And the reason I don't know them is because they're not relevant to my life now. But the day it becomes relevant, I know exactly where to go to get the resources and the people to help me move to the next level. So our parents were using education as a hedge against being discriminated against doubly. You're going to be discriminated against because you're black, is what their assumption was. And then if you don't have a degree, you double down on the discrimination. So by getting the education, you at least have plausible deniability that you were discriminated against because you're black, because you have the degree. Then they said, study, listen to this closely, study objective subjects, not subjective subjects. Because if you study subjective subjects, someone can get the difference between an A and an A minus is at the whim of some professor who may or may not like what you look like.
Yeah.
But when it's 2 + 2 is 4, and 4 is 4, whether you're white, Chinese, Asian, South Asian, or African, that's why you do objective. That's why engineering and medicine and math and computer science are the jam for the diaspora of all cultures, people of color. Why? Because 1 + 1 is 2. Pay me. That's why I went into computers. I said, where can I go? Do I want to go work at CBC or CTV? And they like me. Then they look at Lisa LaFlamme, fluently bilingual female.
Well, hey, look at all the employees that are going to get let go from BCE yesterday. 10% of their workforce gone.
No fault of their own. So we can talk about something else, meaning that you have to have enough FU money, and I can't say what FU means, but anybody who's an adult knows what it means. You have to have enough FU money that if someone tries to play you dirty, you can walk away with your dignity.
You have to have a plan B and plan C these days.
So when I see people 12 years a slave, I go, I hate this, I hate that. My boss is this, my boss is that. I'm on stress leave and this and that. You don't have enough FU money. Because if you did, why would you stay there 12 years a slave? I say to people, I said, listen, you need to be amistaded. They go, what's amistad? I say, make us free. Make us free. You need to be amistaded. Get out of there.
I think another thing to make it financially is go to people who can help you, like Wayne. Get your ego out of the way.
Yeah, listen, I work for people. I mentor people. I am mentored. Listen, you think I'm gonna make a money move in mortgages without talking to Uncle Ray and
exactly.
Ted? I've got 2 guys who look like me that for the price of a jerk chicken dinner, I can get the information I need that they both have 30 years plus of experience, and I can go talk to either one of them, and for a champagne cola and a jerk chicken dinner, I can get what I need to save myself $1,000 or making a mistake because I don't know how to do the math that they do every day.
Yeah. Well, and also too, I think another thing, just from my lens, what you need to make it financial, you have to have mentorship and relationships. It's so, critically important because especially African North Americans, I think a very low percentage have financial acumen to make the moves out there. And I think the psychological thing is a really big thing. It's a really, really big thing. Yeah. And it's generational too.
Cash is king, because if you have parents or grandparents who lived through the Great Depression and they saw what credit did to people and it devastated people, they say, if I don't have the money for it, I don't buy it. And my father was that guy. He probably had 900 credit when he passed because if he bought it and he couldn't pay it off by the end of the month, he was not buying it. And he lived his whole life that way. But here's what I know. There's good debt and there's bad debt.
Exactly.
And there is over $107 billion in credit card debt in Canada. 76 million credit cards in Canada running around with balances on an average of $21,000 in combined debt, not including the mortgage.
Wow.
For every dollar a Canadian make, $1.82, 0.6 goes to satisfying debt on a monthly basis. When I first started doing what I'm doing, that number was 165, and I thought that was high. Now it's 182. That means in the next couple of years, it's going to be 200. Cash is like a fire truck. It's gassed up, it's clean, it's ready for a fire. If there's a fire truck goes out and takes care of business. If there's no fire, it's ready. Cash has got to be ready, because if there's a great opportunity, he or she who has the cash to take care of business quickly, you win.
Yeah.
If the debt generates cash for you, good debt.
Yes.
If the debt takes money out of your pocket every month, bad debt. So if you're going to go into debt to buy a rental property, and you're going to have a triplex or quadplex, and you're going to have 3 people paying you rent, and you living in one unit for free, good debt.
Good debt.
You got a credit card, and you're going to buy a bag with someone's name on it to give you status, bad debt. You're going to buy a car and drive it to floss, bad debt. You're going to take a car and use it to rent it on Turo or Uber Eats or Uber, good debt, because the car's generating money. So debt is like saying money. Is money bad or good? Money is neither. Money is a tool. Debt's a tool. Do you know how to use the tool? Do you hammer nails in with a screwdriver? Do you screw nails with a hammer? You have to have the right tool for the right situation. And where money's concerned, people don't have the tools, and they don't know which tool to use if they have the tools to get the outcomes they want. If you're having a hard time on 100% of your salary while you're working, how are you going to retire on 60% of that for the rest of your life? And God forbid you live longer than your money lasts. So you have more month than money.
Well, it's interesting you say says shit I've known for many years. She is just retired from doing social services, 30 years for the city of Toronto.
Mm.
She set up well, because you know what she told me? She retired 2 weeks ago. She says, less tension, more pension. She's good.
Well, tell her to reach out, because here's what she doesn't know, or maybe she does know. Ask her to look at the fine print of her pension, because if she's like 75 to 87% of the Black women in Toronto,
she's not Black.
Single. Okay,
but she is single.
Okay, so ask her this: does she have kids?
No.
Right. So where's the pension go if she passes away tomorrow?
There we go. There we go. I don't know that part of her business, but it's a question I will suggest. If she says, if you don't have someone taking care of that, maybe I'm going to give you someone's name. Wayne, as always, thanks for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule with family first and foremost, and the team that you help. And that'd be great. And any last words you want to chat before we let you go?
100%. I want people to understand that interest rates haven't moved,
and they're not going
to. Still expensive to buy a house. Houses and Ray and the realtors can speak to this, but the competition below 1.5 million for a house is still very high. Multiple bids, and some houses going above asking in certain markets and certain regions. Here's what I'm going to tell you: if interest rates drop, the discount you're seeing on houses right now, you may not see. So you got to ask yourself this: if I can get into this neighborhood at this price and bite the bullet for 18 months to 2 years, when the interest rates drop, I'll be in the neighborhood I want to be in at a great price. But if you wait for those interest rates to drop and you go back into those same neighborhoods, you're going to pay $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 more for that house.
Well,
so someone's got to do the math, and this is where Ray and Ted come in.
Yep, absolutely. Right? I'll just end off with this. On the last conversation you had with us, you talked about renovations.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, there are people who used to live next door to me. I think they rented out their place for a while, then they left. They got some, I don't know who owns it. Maybe they still own it, because I haven't seen it sold. They're doing a massive reno on that place. Like they're gutting the whole inside out, putting new stairs, and going, is that going to be really a good return on investment in the long run?
Depends on if they're mortgage free. If they're mortgage free,
yeah,
and they can get a well vetted tenant That means a tenant who has, works for one of the 3 levels of government, has great credit and no criminal record, and they can put that person in there, and that can cash flow.
Yeah,
might be worth it.
Yeah,
but trust me when I tell you, based on what I see going on social media, when people got twin mattresses on the floor, 8 twin mattresses in the basement, $500 a mattress per month, and got 13 and 14 people in the house to pay their bills, you're going to have to do the math to see if that is a return on investment. Because investing in your primary residence for your own enjoyment, this is about personal. This is about personal. This is not an economic or investment decision. This is about I want my basement to be a man cave, and I made enough money and I want it for my own personal use. It's not an investment. It's something to make my life better. There's no math involved in that. Just if you have the money, go do it. Yeah. But if you're going to use it because it's going to yield higher rent, and again, Ray and Ted can speak to this, then it might make sense, because if you can Airbnb this thing for more money,
yes, good debt.
It might be good debt, and it might make sense if how long to get the full amount of your investment back because you're renting it at a higher clip, and maybe for longer terms. Because if it's a house, all the rules of the condos and whatnot don't apply. That means if I'm getting 150 now and I can get 250 or 300 for the same thing, and I'm renting it for 2 weeks at a time because I'm next to the hospital and someone got a nose job and they want to stay in my Airbnb so they can go to their appointments back and forth, it might make sense.
Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and the other platforms you see me. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, please email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Join the Morning Vibe Discord group. I'm managing a whole pile of Discord groups these days, and it's fantastic because it's one place where I can communicate with everybody. It's amazing. I love it. A few other things. I'll put Ryan's contact information is there. RyanO'NeillKnight.com, RyanO'NeillKnight.com, and LinkedIn, Ryan O'Neill Knight, Instagram at Ryan.Knight99, and email workwithme@RyanKnight.com. Here's my contact information. All those beautiful places. Website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the dr.vibe at VIBE show, Instagram at the drvibeshow, and X at drvibeshow. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation. It's going to scroll along the bottom there. So coming up on Monday's show, Carolyn Nicole from Energy Shack will be with us. I don't know what she's going to be sharing about yet, but that's why you follow on the Dr. Vibe Show, especially on YouTube, and you'll get notified on what we're going to be sharing about. That's it. And you can watch replays of this conversation, the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan O'Neill Knight, YouTube and LinkedIn. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith, walk good, and we'll see you on a Monday.